think that one of the things we've done for men, or to men rather, is men are tamed. And I think it's happening at a much earlier age than I think we're aware of. We're tamed at a very early age. Like I was, my wife happens to be a teacher, so sometimes I talk about certain things that are going on in the education system, and I'm working on becoming more involved in that. I noticed that in the education system, so many boys are labeled, automatically labeled, something, emotional irregulation, or some type of emotional instability, and they're labeled this not because they're having terrible outbursts or something. It's just because they're being boys.
Yeah.
I think that what we've done is we've kind of gotten away from the basic biology of boys and girls, and we're kind of trying to synthesize this idea to make it seem like boys should be more like girls and girls should stay like girls. And so is this concept that there was something inherently wrong with boys, and then certainly something wrong if a boy grows to be a man, and it's just this warped concept. So I think what has to happen is there has to be some therapy, but there has to be therapy from men who believe it's okay to be a man. I think what's happened is, like we saw, I forgot this therapist's name. I forgot this young girl. She got the credentials to be a therapist, but she brought in this whole feministic mindset into a coaching industry. And so I think it's very important for men, if you're going to go through it to a therapist, you can't just look at their credentials. You got to look at their philosophy for life. You've got to look at what they stand on, because whether they're going to use their credentials, but they're really feeding you how they see the world. And so often people don't look deeper beyond their education and their credentials from institutions. And slowly but surely, you start to see men, the way that they handle stuff is not in a way that grows them. It's more so in a way that makes them docile. It makes them question their manhood. Like I see men, like tall, like big, strong dudes walking into a room, like kind of ducking a little bit because they didn't want to draw attention to themselves. Like, you know what I mean? Like what? Like as a man, when you walk into a room, you walk straight up with your shoulders straight up, with your head up. Like what we've taught men is how to shrink. And I think it's because in this culture, we've promoted having pastors, we've promoted having therapists, but we don't do a good job of promoting having coaches. Like pastors are necessary to help you with your foundation and your moral compass. I think they're absolutely necessary. I think therapists help you to understand certain issues and traumas that might be preventing you from going forward in your life, to get in touch with what's going on. But a coach is more focused on, where do you want to go? And here is what you're going to need to do that. And I think that that's what so many men are missing. And then you couple this with, we're so busy working, so busy making money. And if you start listening to women, and I'll say this as well, too many people are in control of defining what a man is, defining what complaining is, and defining what weak is. It's too many people the definition is constantly moving. And so many men are trying to adapt to different people's definition of the same words. And I think that we have to tune certain people out. There was this show that I was watching. I want to say it was a short show on Apple. I can't think of it, but it was this woman, and she, she was a fraud. She was a thief, and they would go to different rich people, and they would get money out of them. In this particular instance, in this show, she got in a relationship with a billionaire, and she got with a billionaire. And during her time with that billionaire, as she was preparing to marry him, and get her name on his different assets and his policies to get the money, she said a line that I didn't forget. She said, billionaires at that particular level, there are certain people that they don't even see unless they're on their radar. Like those people exist in their own world, but to a billionaire, for what they have to focus on and what they have to do, certain people just don't exist. I think that this is how men have to operate. We should be so focused on what we have to get done, on our goals, that people who are, I don't want to say beneath us, but people who are speaking stuff that don't contribute in a positive way to where we're going, like they got to be off of our radar. So we're not spending time responding to them when they really don't have any significant meaning on where we're going. And so again, I think that society is making men weak because we're pushing therapy and not coaches. And I think more men need more coaches to help them to focus on where they're going and not just to get stuck on where they were.
So, Sir Hill, you said something, and I kind of want to add to it, where you said that a lot of people are defining what a man is and what complaining is. And what I'm thinking is that I think a lot of people fail to realize that the pendulum always swings both ways, right? And what we had that was a pretty decent society that we watched, you know what I mean, leading up until the feminist movement and things like that. And what I think may have happened was that one, a lot of women were taught to be more, you know what I mean, self-love, selfish, right? Because I don't see the younger generation becoming less men. I see them becoming more selfish. They're starting to think more about themselves. And that's what's dangerous to society, because once you have a group of selfish people, nobody thinks about the group anymore. So I'm thinking that's when I'm starting to notice, because these dudes, they are like, there's a reason why Andrew Tate became one of the most hated men in the world, was because he got a hold of all the young men's minds. And all of them, he telling them, do you know what I mean, get your, you know what I mean, take care of yourself. But they hear the part where they say, you know what I mean, get yourself ready, you know what I mean, get in the gym and all that. But where you lose these young men at is when you tell them, oh yeah, you still need to take care of everybody. Now that's why they're losing a lot of these where they're like, nah, I'm good on that part. I'm gonna go and work out at the gym. I'm gonna go and get my shit together. I'm gonna go and make this money. I'm gonna go and do all of that. But you lose me with, hey, yeah, but you also still need to take care of everybody around you. So what I'm noticing there is that a lot of young men are becoming more selfish, because the pendulum always swings both ways. And until it swings back to an equilibrium where we all start to care about one another again, it's just, we got to let it run its course.
I want to answer that just really quickly. I think that there's nothing wrong with men being selfish. And here's why I say this. I think what we do is we don't tell people when the selfishness has to be cut away. So let's say we've got young men who are athletes, or they want to become doctors or something successful. I think what we've done is we teach men to be responsible for everybody else before they've been selfish long enough to develop the core skills it takes to handle that. So what I mean by that is not the selfishness that says forget people, but more of the being self-responsible to focus on yourself for long enough to put yourself in a position so you can take care of people. I think what so many young people have done or been raised to is you got kids who are helping their moms pay bills. You got kids who are assuming the responsibility of a provider before they know what it's like to be able to save something, which is why you see a lot of men, they give away their money, their time, their resources, and everybody loves them while they're giving. But when that man has nothing left to give, those people who he gave to aren't there to support him. So I think that we have to teach men that there's a healthy degree of selfishness that every man, particularly if you're going to be successful, you have to have. But there's got to be a cap to that. Like selfishness is to be used to construct yourself into the kind of man that can provide. And then once you're in that position, you have standards it takes for people who actually get, what you can provide for them.